On Sunday, October 12, 2025, what began as a typical travel day at Los Angeles International Airport quickly spiraled into a scene of confusion and uncertainty. In a matter of minutes, LAX, one of the world's busiest airports, came to a sudden grinding halt. The bustling terminals, usually filled with the constant movement of travelers, were frozen in place. An unexpected FAA equipment outage triggered a ground stop, freezing all departing flights and stranding thousands of travelers. Planes sat motionless on the tarmac, while passengers inside the terminal watched their plans unravel in real time. The usual airport buzz was replaced by tense silence, broken only by the crackle of overhead announcements. Each new update brought more bad news: delays, cancellations, and mounting uncertainty. The timing couldn't have been worse. It was Columbus Day weekend, one of the busiest travel periods of the year, with LAX operating at full capacity. Families, business travelers, and tourists alike found themselves caught in a logistical nightmare. What started as a local technical glitch quickly threatened to ripple across the entire national aviation network. Delays at LAX began to cascade, affecting flights and connections in cities far beyond Los Angeles. News of the outage spread rapidly, with frustrated travelers sharing their experiences on social media and news crews rushing to cover the unfolding crisis. The world was watching as the situation developed. Passengers faced confusion and mounting frustration, with little information about the cause or how long the disruption would last. Many spent hours refreshing their phones, hoping for updates that never seemed to come. The incident exposed just how deeply we rely on complex, interconnected technology, and how a single point of failure can disrupt lives nationwide, leaving thousands stranded and plans in disarray. It also highlighted the ongoing staffing shortages in air traffic control, which only made the crisis harder to manage. Overworked staff scrambled to restore order, but the system was stretched to its limits. The chaos at LAX was more than just a travel headache. It was a wake-up call about the fragility of our aviation infrastructure and the urgent need for investment and reform to prevent future meltdowns. A ground stop is the FAA's most powerful tool, an extraordinary measure that brings the nation's air traffic to a standstill. When this order is issued, it means that no flights are allowed to depart from one or more airports, regardless of their destination. This is not a decision made lightly. It's a last resort, used only when the safety of passengers and crews is at risk. The order halts all departures, freezing planes at their gates and leaving runways eerily quiet. Departure boards quickly fill with the word delayed, and the usual hum of airport activity is replaced by uncertainty and waiting. Ground stops are triggered when air traffic control can't safely manage the normal flow of flights. This can happen for a variety of reasons: severe weather like thunderstorms or blizzards, security threats, or, as happened at LAX, a critical equipment failure that disrupts the entire system. In these moments, the complex choreography of the skies is thrown into disarray. The primary goal is always safety, keeping the number of planes in the sky within what controllers can safely handle. By limiting departures, the FAA ensures that the airspace doesn't become dangerously crowded, reducing the risk of mid-air incidents or confusion. For passengers, the effects are immediate and often frustrating. Flights are held at gates, sometimes for hours, and the uncertainty can be overwhelming. Delays and cancellations ripple outward, affecting not just the airport where the ground stop was issued, but connecting flights and schedules across the country. Even a brief ground stop can create a domino effect, snarling airline schedules for hours or even days. The backlog of delayed flights can take a long time to clear, and passengers may find themselves stranded far from their destinations. Behind the scenes, the FAA's command center works closely with local towers, airline operations, and airport authorities. Together, they weigh the risks, assess the disruption, and coordinate the complex process of resuming normal operations as soon as it's safe. At LAX, the system's failure made it impossible to safely choreograph aircraft movements, forcing the FAA's hand. With so many flights and lives at stake, the only responsible choice was to halt departures until the problem could be resolved. As technicians raced to fix the underlying issue, airline staff scrambled to manage their fleets and crews, rebooking passengers and adjusting schedules on the fly. The pressure was intense, and every minute counted. Meanwhile, passengers waited anxiously, glued to their phones for updates, hoping for good news. For many, the experience was a stark reminder of how interconnected and fragile the air travel system can be. The LAX ground stop showed how a single glitch can force a nationwide pause, underscoring the FAA's immense responsibility to keep the skies safe. In the end, a ground stop is a dramatic but necessary step to protect everyone who depends on air travel. The LAX chaos began with a systems issue that crippled ground control's ability to track and direct aircraft. Controllers lost their eyes and ears, the technology that prevents collisions on the ground. Suddenly, managing dozens of planes became a dangerous guessing game. The FAA had no choice but to halt all departures to prevent catastrophe. Technicians worked urgently to diagnose and repair the fault, but every minute meant more delays and a growing backlog. Some arriving flights landed, but even they struggled to reach gates. After hours of tense repairs and safety checks, departures resumed slowly. The incident revealed just how dependent modern aviation is on fragile technology. One glitch can bring a multi-billion-dollar operation to its knees. The LAX failure struck an aviation system already stretched thin by a critical shortage of air traffic controllers. A federal government shutdown forced thousands of controllers to work without pay, compounding stress and fatigue. Morale plummeted, and performance suffered, dangerous in a job where mistakes can be fatal. Many control towers, including LAX, were understaffed, forcing the FAA to slow traffic for safety. When the equipment failed, there was no reserve capacity to manage the crisis. The combination of technical failure and human resource shortages turned a manageable problem into a major disruption. Controllers performed heroically, but the incident exposed the system's vulnerability. The LAX grounding was as much about failing support for people as it was about failing technology. The LAX ground stop sent shockwaves across the country, instantly disrupting the daily rhythm of air travel. What began as a local issue quickly escalated into a nationwide crisis, as the effects rippled outward from one of the world's busiest airports. In today's interconnected network, a disruption at a hub like LAX doesn't just stay local, it ripples coast to coast, affecting flights and passengers in every corner of the country. The intricate web of flight paths means that a single delay can set off a chain reaction, impacting schedules far beyond Los Angeles. Flights stuck in Los Angeles meant missed connections in Chicago, Dallas, and New York. Passengers found themselves stranded, unable to reach their next flight, while crews and aircraft were left out of position, compounding the chaos. The week was already chaotic. Over 22,000 flights delayed nationwide due to staffing shortages and weather. The LAX incident only made things worse, pushing the system to its breaking point. The LAX glitch poured fuel on the fire, with hundreds of flights delayed or canceled in just a few hours. Airline staff scrambled to help frustrated travelers, but the sheer scale of the disruption was overwhelming. One grounded plane in LA could disrupt schedules from Denver to Boston, as aircraft and crews failed to arrive where they were needed. The domino effect was relentless, with each delay creating new problems down the line. Clearing the backlog was a monumental task. Airlines worked through the night, rebooking passengers, rerouting flights, and trying to reunite crews with their planes. For many, the journey home became a test of patience and endurance. Many travelers didn't reach their destinations until days later, forced to sleep in terminals or wait endlessly for updates. The human toll was visible in every crowded waiting area and baggage claim. The incident was a harsh lesson in the fragility of the national airspace system. Even a single point of failure can expose vulnerabilities that affect millions. A single failure can bring travel plans for millions to a standstill, reminding us just how much we rely on the smooth operation of our nation's airports and the people who keep them running. The LAX shutdown was just one symptom of a broader crisis. Staffing shortages, worsened by the government shutdown, caused delays at major hubs nationwide. The FAA had to slow traffic at airports like Chicago, New York, and Dallas, creating a domino effect. Even flights far from the original problem were delayed as congestion rippled outward. The holiday rush amplified the chaos, making travel unpredictable for millions. The system's sophistication means little without enough trained professionals. When the human element is compromised, the entire network becomes fragile. Just 2 days before the LAX meltdown, Atlanta's air traffic control tower was evacuated due to a fire alarm and gas odor. The world's busiest airport ground to a halt, compounding the system's strain. Atlanta's shutdown created a massive backlog just as the holiday weekend began. The delays from Atlanta were still being sorted out when LAX failed. Chronic staffing shortages left no buffer to absorb these shocks. Meanwhile, a recent cyber attack in Europe underscored the vulnerability of aviation systems worldwide. U.S. officials said LAX wasn't hacked, but the timing was a stark reminder of our dependence on complex, interconnected technology. Technical glitches, staffing crises, and global threats combined to create a perfect storm. Amid the chaos, the FAA and airlines stressed one message: safety comes first. FAA leaders made clear that delays and cancellations were the price of keeping operations safe under strain. Airlines urged travelers to pack their patience, explaining that spacing out flights was essential to avoid overwhelming controllers. For stranded passengers, this was cold comfort, but it underscored the professionalism of those working behind the scenes. The decision to ground flights at LAX was a direct reflection of this safety-first principle. Despite the frustration, the absence of accidents was a testament to the dedication of air traffic controllers and crews. In the aftermath, the FAA pledged to prevent a repeat of the chaos. A full review of the LAX outage aims to identify vulnerabilities and build more redundancy into critical systems. The crisis highlighted the urgent need to resolve staffing shortages and protect essential workers from political disruptions. Better communication with passengers during crises is also a priority. The incident is a catalyst for change, a warning about the fragility of our airspace system. By learning from these failures, the FAA and airlines can build a stronger, more resilient network for the future.